Welcome to Draw Process. I'm Ike, drawing my comic books here. First Sun and Sword, number 3, and it's page 6 today. Here's the finished page, so you have an idea of what I will be drawing. A grid of small panels at the bottom to show them traveling, and I'll talk about that a bit. And then above, it's the talking heads getting ready to travel. And yeah, that's it for that. I do no thumbnails. I pencil right on the page. As I said, I did all the pencils together maybe 2 weeks because I really got into it. And you'll see on either side of my board, I've got the prior 2 pages so that I can reference how I made characters look, things like that. And so I just go right in and start penciling it out. So how much of a plan do I have really when I come into one of these pages? Well, I don't exactly visualize the finished page, but I know that where my point A and point B will be, where I'm starting on the page and where I'm trying to get to. So I usually have that in mind. Sometimes I'm mistaken. I find out that I can't fit as much in there as I wanted to. But I have that in mind, and then I work from the very first image. So I know that I want the lead boy to say thank you to them. I want that moment to feel weighty enough to be its own panel. And then I want him to introduce the 2 of them. That's weighty enough to take a whole panel. So for him to say thank you, I don't need a very large panel. So I went with a smaller one. But for him to introduce them, I decided to use the rest of the space to the right of that. And so now we have a kind of first third is a panel, and the other 2/3 is a wider panel. And as I thought about that, as I executed it, I noticed, well, having Sword and Fair and them introduce themselves, let's just make it the same pattern. We'll do the small panel where they introduce themselves, and we'll go from that to the wider panel where we see the entire group standing together. This also gives us an establishing shot. It gives us a sense of the space, which is nice to periodically double back to. And there's a movement. It's not just one talking head to another. We're going from the single subject, and it's kind of changing, moving towards the 2 of them to, and then to the whole group. I know that I tend to not just have a close up on a head talking and then back to the other head talking and back and back and back. That feels boring. So I mix that up. Sometimes I will just loosely pencil a panel so that I get a sense of the thumbnail for the whole page, and this time I overdid it. So I must have been pretty confident. In the moment I felt like pushing forward with this plan, even though I don't have the rest of the page figured out. So ideally, I would rough in the whole page before I continue. Now notice that I did know what I was going to do there. And I just threw it down. I knew that I would need 2 more panels with the same layout to get them to begin their journey. So I didn't know that, when I started penciling it out. But it all counted out well. Boy introduces himself, introduces the other. Our heroes get introduced themselves. They ask. That's panel 4. They ask for food and shelter. They talk to each other to discuss, and then they say, come with us. Perfect. 6 panels. That's what I have in this space. By repeating this pattern, these 6 panels feel truly grouped together. And it's quite different than the grid that's about to begin after that. So as they begin their journey in this panel number 6, then we go into the grid. Now, these tight little grids, I've mentioned it in a prior video how I started doing this, and it is to allow for kind of a fast forward. I want you to be able to see what happened and not just skip ahead. It's taking the place of a caption, perhaps. A caption might say, and they traveled to the village, and then you show the village on the next page. And maybe it adds a little detail. They traveled long and hard, or as the sun was setting, and they see it up on the hill, and now they're there. I mean, you could get literary with it, but instead of using a caption to communicate that, I want to use images, and to me, it feels right. It feels right for the kind of visual language that I'm using. But in these small panels, they need to feel. They should feel pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Not a lot of changes between panels. So if you think, for example, a makeover montage, you might see in a movie, where someone is going to the wardrobe and they come out with a different dress on, and they go and they get another one. It's quite predictable. Like you get what image you're going to see next. It's going to be them in another dress. Like where you know the setting, you know what the characters are up to. Keep it really simple, and you can have faster edits, and you can have smaller panels. And so the first panel here, I want to show, you can clearly see that there's 5 little bitty stick figures, 5 ants going up that hill. I did it from the side view and made it very clear. I put them right in the center of that thumbnail so that you can see they're traveling. Now, it's a little bit repetitive, but I don't want to make it too repetitive. So in the next panel, instead of watching them from the side, we're seeing where they're heading to just a bit. So now they're moving diagonally and up rather than directly from the side view. And we kind of see where they're going a bit. Now we're back to a profile, and you can see that the terrain has changed. So they've made their way up a hill, and now they're in a flat place. So a small change. From here, I know that I need to show them to continue traveling. I decided to zoom in, give you, even though it's such a small panel, let you see all 5 of them even more clearly, and to make the foundations of houses visible in the field. That's like, it's just like this is a lived-in world. It's a place, but it might relate to the story. Perhaps this village they're going to used to be located here with their houses on foundations, and we're about to see that their houses are now on stilts. So it just came to me as something I could do to add a little flavor, a little interest, and not just show them walk, walk, walk. Here, I decided to come even closer in so that you can see the figures' faces a bit, because I don't want to spend too long with them just being little ants. So I go from the group with their faces directly into, so that I can get to a close-up of Sun's face. I thought to myself, let's bring it back to the subjective experience. Let's ground it for the reader back in a subjective experience at this point. How do I do that? Whose perspective are we taking or connecting with? And I decided on Sun. So we have Sun, he's looking down. Maybe he's getting tired or bored or, down. And so we see him looking down. And then when he looks up in the next panel, Farah's standing right there waiting on him. So I'm trying to communicate, it's basically like, hey, boy, wake up, we've arrived. I'm trying to communicate that in an image and not in words. Now we see the village, obviously very small, but you can tell that there is some kind of huts. There's some kind of village there, and the figures are moving towards it. So now we've reached the destination. Obviously on the next page, I'm going to draw a nice big establishing shot so that it's not so tiny anymore. Let's open this back up and show the reader, hey, we're entering back into real time, into the real perspective. If it was a written story or a spoken story, there'd be all these details, and then they said this and they said that. It would almost sound like real time, and they gave this expression, and then they began to walk. It would feel real time. But then for these little panels, I want it to be like, it would be like saying, and they traveled a while and arrived at the village. Like it's something that is more succinct, and the listener or the reader, they can tell, oh, this is different. This is a different pace, and they're going to bring me back into real time in a moment. And so that's intentional. I want that. I want the sense of that to stop, and give you the sense that you've returned back, um, but not for long, because in this case, when they arrive in the village, I want uh, I wanted to do this kind of rapid fire, this kind of quick, overview of what happened when they arrived in the village, so that I can get them to the important next scene, which is of the evening at the village, where they're going to be dancing and so on. Okay, I've been thinking about a perspective some artists have voiced, their views, which are different than mine. There's something about working hard, really grinding at something, really like focusing, but not just like attention on, but the struggle with, as if um, the artistic creation, the creative creation, the invention, the it has to be hewn from rock. It has to be wrestled away from the truth keeper. I don't know. Like it's got to be fought for, and it's that struggle that reveals, that can bring forth something that other people aren't bringing forth because they're not putting in that effort. Um, and so if you're an artist and you're creating your work every day, it's actually a painful struggle process. I don't know that I buy into that. No, I'm not someone who's does art every single day nonstop. I have another job too. Um, so maybe there's a way that it doesn't apply to me, so I wouldn't know. But um, I don't see it quite that way, and I think there's some good in that other view. Uh, I see there's ways that we overlap in our view, but um, I think that this view that you would have to fight and wrestle it, is kind of mistaken. The way I see it, the struggle and the wrestling is with myself. That I'm getting in the way of the flowing, the truth is out there in a sense, and by relation to it, it will flow through me, and that it's my resistance to that is the real struggle. So, um, for example, if I'm looking at my work and I'm like, this doesn't quite feel right, but I'm beating myself up about it. I'm hard on myself. I'm frustrated. So, or I'm in my head. I'm confused and stressed because I don't know. Wait, does this not feel right because I'm missing the mark, or is this because uh, I'm too hard on myself? I can't tell what's going on. Those are all struggles that we have when we're creating. Um, but that's a struggle with yourself. That's not a struggle with the art. And again, the art is not like this, uh, that you're just supposed to like manhandle it and overpower it and wrestle it, dominate it. It's to relate to it, and to see what it is, like to communicate what is, to let it communicate through you into the art. I don't want to get too in the weeds there, because I get how quickly this becomes philosophical and so on. But nonetheless, it's meaningful, I think, to think about that. When I've struggled with my art, it's always been because I was struggling with myself. The art's easy. Like a kid that's innocent and drawing. It's easy. We make it hard. And then we think, well, I couldn't go back to just drawing like a child because look at everything I've built by struggling and forcing myself and kind of dominating an assembly line. I mean, there's different metaphors for this, but all of this, I've built something. I couldn't go back. But think about an artist who spent a lot of time learning a particular method and way of drawing, and when they're doing that, they're like, I've really got this. But let's say that they need to, maybe they choose to take a class and learn more. They want to improve, they want to grow, and now they're being forced to not draw the way that they normally would, and they feel foolish, they feel bad at it, and they would rather go back to doing it the way that they mastered already. But instead, they could let go, and this would be where they could really grow and learn and I could see how there's something there about the creation, the art that you're trying to create, that if the idea is that I'm mastering my methods and then I just use my methods to produce the artwork, whether it's a comic book or an illustration or something, to me that's a bit backwards. That's a bit about ego. That's a bit about like, look what I can do. But and I think it limits the art, because now the art is simply an expression of your skill that you want to show off, instead of what does this art want to be, what's speaking to me here, and now I'm the vessel, I'm the instrument for it to come forth from, through, with. And then I think that kind of art would have it would convey something honest, and new. But if you're always, I guess in the strictest sense, drawing the same figure in the same pose with the same skill set, with the same style and stuff, and then you're like, okay, well, what do I do today? I need to communicate this feeling with this other character, but I'm gonna do it with the same pose, the same everything. It's you can see how it might make you feel good that and you might even really struggle and work hard at it, but there's something inauthentic in it. You're not able to bring forth or communicate different things. So I think that's a trap of the idea of mastery, ego, and I think it's part of the trap of artwork is supposed to be hard. Now, people could mean it different ways, because I get the value in it. In one sense, if someone's been doing art for 20 years and now they're like, it's easy, I just do what I do, it's super easy. Well, maybe they're not actually being open to the creative process. They're not actually having a relationship with it. In my language, the way I see it, maybe it isn't very good that they do that. And from the other person's perspective, that values this hard work perspective, they would say, this is the mistake here is this person isn't working hard anymore. They're not struggling anymore. So similarities in the views. Sometimes we're saying the same thing in different language. But I thought that was really kind of interesting when I heard some viewpoints like that recently. And it had me kind of think to myself, well, am I working hard enough? Am I getting complacent? Am I, all those things. And when I look at my work, when I think of my work, I know that I could produce much cleaner designed work. I could be very thorough with each image. But that would be a different, that process, it would be quite a different result. I mean, not only would I take forever in comparison to my approach, it would take forever to get a book done. It would also, the work would feel quite different. Um, and I think both are totally valid. So there is the finished page. The lettering is digital, but the word balloons, I drew them on the page. I used the nib. The borders of the panels were done freehand. I don't use a ruler, but I do use a ruler when I use the pencils. So the pencil line is perfect, but then I just trace it, I follow it with freehand. I like that feeling because the freehand lines on the panels match the art, and the freehand word balloons also match the art nicely. So I'm letting things look more loose and organic, because if everything looks that way, it gives me the liberty to go that direction instead of having something that looks out of place. If everything's perfect and there's one, kind of mistake, it'll really stand out. But if everything's loose, then it is part of the whole. And there's the cover to the book. It's available now. Thanks for joining me this week. And I'll continue to put these out until we get through all 45 pages. I guess 46 if you count the cover. And I'll see you next week.